Greetings, world and family. I am Richard,
And I am Gary.
and together we are rocking Pandora's box.
Box! Woohoo!
Woo-hoo, family!
Ah,
With some Dragon's Breath of Love beauties. Yay!
superb.
How are you, brother?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you very much, Richard. And again, I don't want to sound like a stuck record, but oh my God, the energies at the moment are,
They're
we all,
crazy, yeah? Mhm.
yeah, a lot of us have had colds and sniffles and and it's purging and there's stuff coming in and the energies are building and there was
Mm.
just a stuck record again, wasn't it?
It has. It
Has.
really has. I was under the weather for 2 weeks. It's the very first time, like, I don't know, when was the pandemic? Was that 12 years, 15 years ago?
No, it's 2020, so five years ago. Yeah,
Is
four,
that
five.
it?
That's it. Feels longer, I know.
Okay, well, I go way before that since I thought it was 10 years ago. That's insane. In any event, I hadn't had a sniffle since way before that. And I got down, but there's a lot to it.
There
Not
is.
because that we think that we got the flu or the cold, it's necessarily that. Yes, it could be, but there are different sensations, and that's what gar I realized because I was spitting a lot of phlegm. My voice was like chainsawed, but in my defense, I kind of liked it because I love chainsaw voices like Janis Joplin, Lemmy from Motorhead, Wendell Williams, Joan. I love the raspy, so I enjoyed it. But this is it why I didn't feel that it was necessarily a cold or a flu because my lungs were fine, although I was spitting out phlegm. There was no pain. I wasn't like that hoarse coughing. So it was all in the head. So
Yeah.
I was under the weather, but with all these ascension symptoms that have been popping back, and big soul aspects are coming back to the singularity. What often happens is I had one big one that I will call the blue kachina that came back home because it was big, it was massive. One of my aspects that came back home. And what does that do when it comes in? Whatever that's around that no longer serves will have to detoxify.
That's
So I
the
think
one.
this is why. Because
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
seeing it on my one-on-one Zooms. You've been under the weather. Many of us have been under the weather, and that's what it is. It's purging. The end.
One thing I will say is you sounded very much like Max from Charlie's Angels. And that's why, and I was thinking he sounded a
Max?
bit Max-like. It wasn't it that on the
No,
thing?
it was Charlie.
No, was it
Charlie.
Charlie? Ah, it was Max was the helper, wasn't he? With the cigar. Am I thinking?
Okay, you're crazy because you don't watch you don't watch TV. You don't have a TV set. So good for you. Like just remember Farrah Fawcett. But if we're talking about Charlie's Angels and the little box that
That's
spoke,
it. That was
well, it's
Charlie.
called Charlie
Of course it
because
is. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's his angels.
You sounded like Charlie.
Did I? He seemed more refined, Charlie. Greetings, angels. No, no, I was speaking like this. Or maybe to your ears,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
But
One thing,
you're,
one thing I have been having this week particularly is super loud ear
what's
ringing.
that?
My
Oh.
ears going bee, and I mean super, super loud. And after or midway going through the really loud ones, I suddenly go dizzy, and then I come back again. And I've never had that before.
Can I ask you a question? That ringing in your ears, was it as if you were underwater or it was like plasma, the sound? Was it a different sound as if you were with the whales or the dolphins underwater in jelly water?
I would get it felt like I had water in my ears sometimes, and it was a very high pitch. Yeah, could well have been. Could well have been.
It's a new frequency because I get it too, but it's a different one. It's not linear.
No,
And so like it comes like almost like from outer space because we don't believe it's gas up there. It's plasma. And you know, when you go in a pool, in a jacuzzi underwater, which is not good for your hair. So if you go underwater in a jacuzzi, please follow my advice. Wash your hair right after. Um, or in a bathtub, and then you hear people talking, like it's a certain like frequency, huh?
Yeah, whoop, 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 whoop. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. No,
Yes.
I had that as well as not. Do you know what I mean? It was very,
Hmm.
very strange. And
Okay.
I've never experienced that kind of no, I've tinnitus and all that sort of stuff and funny wheeze and woos, but this was different. Yeah, yeah.
Ah, ah. Well, we are good now. I think it's good that we're not broken. There's
No, no.
nothing wrong with us. It's called ascension. And
Yeah,
ascension is within. So that's why we hear those sounds coming back within,
yeah.
right?
We
Kind of.
certainly do.
Yeah.
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 So it's all good though, and it is all good. And I think that is, I think you hit the nail on the head. The reason why we've been ill or we're purging still to a degree
Mm.
is
Yes.
because we're getting rid of stuff that no longer suits us or fits with us as new things are coming in and as we're being upgraded.
Beautifully said. And it's not just because it's things that no longer serves us, but a lot of those attachments were attached to us unbeknownst to our consent, right? Living in the inversion, like that rat race. What do we pick up unbeknownst to
Yeah,
ourselves? That's remembrance. Hey, you don't belong to me.
yeah. No,
Detach, creep.
yeah, no. I think you're totally right there. And I think you bang, again, another nail on the head. And I actually think that's something that we might cover today, which brings us in
Yes.
nicely. So, as Richard said, if you saw Richard's little promo that he did in his jacuzzi, or his jack, as he calls it, Richard quite rightly said today we're going to be talking about something called a helter skelter.
Mhm.
Now, um, this actually came from a strange kind of offshoot thing from the Wizard of Oz, I think, didn't it? And you
It
were,
did.
yeah, and Richard's mind went straight to what many in the States or in America, America, would associate with the word helter skelter. But actually, in the United Kingdom, it's got a completely different meaning.
Mhm.
And it's one that I think is very, very interesting. So, um, shall we go straight over and show the beautiful Femi what a helter skelter really does look like? And
Yes.
then we'll go further into it. And would you like that?
I would love that. Yes, of
Okay.
course.
Let's see if I can share. So, share now. Hopefully, everybody can see the two images. Can you see that, Richard?
I can, Sir Gargar.
We have a red and white one, and we have a cream and sort of brown, and but these are helter skelters.
Mhm.
And as you can see, they're in fun fairs in England. You can see a big wheel at the back, and that'll be the horses that you can sit on, and or the chairs that fly out around here. But I think this is probably the best image of a helter skelter, and I have a strange theory. Why wouldn't I, Richard Hay? Um, although Helter Skelters are fundamentally an amusement slide now. So what you do is you climb on the inside of these things, and there's stairs going up to the top. And when you're at the top, you have a what's it called? It's a mat made out of core, COIR, which is kind of like I always thought it was something like coconut husk. Do you know what I mean? Like the outside, a real, I mean, like the sort of stuff that you sit on it and it pricks through your bum, sort of thing, and you get given this mat, and what you do is you go onto there, and the outside has got rails, little raised bits of wood, and the core slides on these rails, and you slide all the way down so you get to the bottom, and then you go up through the steps, up through the middle again, and you can repeat the process as many times as you feel like, and that's a helter skelter. So that is a very nice image of one. But I think they were used for something else pre that. And I think the Helter Skelter, when was it? I know it was done in Blackpool. Can you remember the year they were started, Richard?
Well, this, from my research, I found that they started, but this was like British. It wasn't like on my side of the universe, but it was the beginning. I got 1905,
Yeah,
maybe
1905.
1906. It
Yeah,
feels like '05.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I think the first one was in Blackpool, and they had them in all the coastal areas. It'd be
Uh-huh.
quite a thing. I'm fairly certain they used to have one in a place called Great Yarmouth, which is just down the road from me in Norfolk, and these would have been a popular thing. But I think they were repurposed, and I think originally these would have been Zephyr or Tartarian hot air balloon landing points to enable people to get on and off a hot air balloon or
Mm.
or like airship, rather, not a balloon, a ship, an airship. And I think these would have been used, and I think I've
Like a
certainly
blimp, you mean, an
like a
airship, like
blimp.
those blimps, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So for me, this is a undocking and docking mechanism for a blimp. And what they've done is somebody who's very ingenious has decided to stick a slide round the outside to repurpose something that's no longer being used. And why wouldn't you?
Mm.
Because when you're talking about the 1900s, they didn't throw things away like we do today, do they? You know,
Well, they
they
did
kept
destroy
things.
a lot of stuff during the era of Ontario and the World Fairs, but we still have the old monuments here in Montreal, Gary. It's insane how much we have like Tantarian like monuments, like original ones.
Yeah,
So some would have been repurposed, I
yeah,
feel.
yeah,
Yes, yes,
yeah.
yes.
I actually did a probably about 6 months ago. I did a video on
Hmm.
airships, and I've got lots of images, and some of the images, um, believe it or not, lighthouses were once used as docking stations for them as well by the coast,
And it looks like a lighthouse that.
doesn't it? Doesn't it?
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So if you wanted to know more, I'm not going to go into it any further than that because would you like to let me stop sharing? Would you like to get your pendulum out, Richard? and
Yes, of course.
and let me know if I'm correct in my
Hmm.
assumption that they were once used for Tartarian airships to board an un. It's got a knot. Look at that. I don't know
That's
how they
okay.
do that. I don't know how it does that.
Well, it's because it's not an original pendulum. I just used one of my chains with a moldavite that I myself wrapped in copper. Yeah, your answer is yes.
Yes, isn't that
Yeah.
interesting, everyone?
Yeah.
So
Show us the movement for no Aureliens, just so that you can see. Look at my hair, it's not moving. I'm not doing anything right now. That's a no. Richard, side to side, it's a no. Show me maybe, or I don't know, I'm searching data, channels. It's going to go into a circle right now. And show me the movement for yes, Aurelien. See, back and forth, that's a yes. So, I just, because we're getting new
yes, we
beautiful
are.
family members, so, like, that's why I repeat myself.
Yeah.
But the answer is yes, my brother.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I've done a show 6 months ago or so on airships, and I
Hmm.
show all the docking stations and how they would have done it. And as soon as I
Excuse me.
saw the Helter Skelter from that, I was like, wow, I know what they were for. I know why they've been repurposed. And there we go. So in the United Kingdom, Helter Skelter for me has always been a fairground ride that I have actually been on myself. So a lot of fun. Um,
And can I add just before we go on, Gargar, because this is it. While I was speaking through WhatsApp with Gary and the Wizard of Oz, aka Mel, and that's what it was. Mel spoke about Helter Skelter, and I'm looking at Gary. It's like, why is she talking to me about Charles Manson? because we got England and I'm Canadian, so North America. And so that's why I know Helter Skelter, the Manson situation, the race wars, the Beatles. And then both Gary and Mel, like, what are you talking about? It's like a toy. And I've got, no, it's not. And then as we're looking into it, say, oh my gosh. No, no. Oh, okay. Whoever you are, sister, in the comments yesterday, you wrote, oh my goddess. That's going to be my new oh my god. Oh my goddess.
I like that.
Okay, like we had an epiphany, and that's how this show is starting. So that's just a little interlude. I'm sorry I had to share it because it was
No, that
important to
it,
share. Because you live where you live, I live where we live. It's like time is different. We even turn back time at different days
I know.
and look at the information.
Yeah,
What I know of that word is something of trauma. What you know of that word is something of youth, inner child, and beauty. Somewhere there was an inversion.
totally.
Hello.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And again, everyone, what Rich has just given you is one of the insights on how crazy our little world is, where
Yes.
a random conversation will lead to something that because like Richard went straight away, oh my God, that's our show.
Oh my
Because
goddess. Oh my
oh my
goddess.
goddess, that's our show. Yeah, yeah. Because it was so different, and of course, Rich and I were also talking about this in a different way as well. Um, I mean, I could go into the language about what a helter skelter means. Um, it's a disorderly haste of confusion. So it's a disorderly haste of confusion, which means it's a circle going down,
A
you know,
spiral.
spiral. Um, Helter in Dutch is a variant of held, and that's where it connects to the Tartarian airships, blimps,
Mm.
because the top of that would have probably been called a helter, because that was what would have held. That's why you got the post at the top. They would have wrapped a rope around the top of that. And it's very interesting that helter also means rope or cord or similar that fastens around the neck.
Like
Now,
a noose.
it doesn't necessarily have to be the neck of a person, but if the piece of wood that stuck up at the top of the helter skelter was called the
Yes.
neck, that would make sense as well. So you can see how my mind works on like Googling language and trying to figure out what's going on.
And we love your mind.
Right.
Right, sisters?
Thank
We do.
So that's quite a fascinating thing about the Helter Skelter. So I obviously have a completely different understanding as to Richard, and we're going to go into that as well to a degree. But we're also, once we've looked at the Charles Manson kind of
Mhm.
stuff, and we're going to brush over some of the darker bits and pieces, but we are going to probably introduce new information or suspicions, and Richard will do the cards, the pendulum, and he might even do. It might even be worth Richard doing a crystal ball reading on that actually, and
We'll
see
go
who,
as it goes.
yeah, and
Yeah.
see who comes in because we never know who could come in.
Mhm.
Um, and then the next part of the show, well, we will be looking at the actual twist or twirl of the Helter Skelter
Mhm.
because Richard and I feel that's very, very important and leads on to where we kind of are today.
Yes. Yes. Beautifully said.
So, Richard knows a lot more about the Charles Manson side of things than I do. Of course, I've done some research this week or today over it. I wanted to be fresh. I actually did it today. So, Richard, would you like to express and explain to the beautiful Femi what your understanding of the Helter Skelter was that created the face that we got from you when Mel and I were talking about the lovely Helter Skelter?
Yes, of course. I don't even know where to start because there is so much here to unpack. So, in simplicity, So yes, as many of you know, like growing up, like I loved horror movies and all that. So I was fascinated with such topics, which I do not resonate anymore to. But I mean, Charles Manson was a big thing for us. And I call it a thing because he is a thing. And I think why also I know so much around him. It's not because necessarily I loved horror movies, because horror movies were fiction. He was like a true story. The thing that I knew so much is because of the compassion, the love I had for Sharon Tate. And because of Sharon Tate, so she would have been one of his family's victims. She was pregnant, 8 months pregnant, I think. I don't want to dwell on that. But my love for Sharon, although I've never seen one of her movies, I saw her beauty. And it upsetted me that her fame came not from the art, the beauty of a white rose that she was presenting, but because of her demise. She became famous because, and that just felt inverted to me. Okay. Something so pure, so beautiful, regardless of who she married, Roman Polanski. I do believe, Roman Polanski had a movie coming out. Okay. So when this happened to her, I think he was traveling overseas to promote his film, Rosemary's Baby, a woman giving birth to a demon child. And that's when the horror story happened. Rosemary was pregnant, Sharon was pregnant. There's just something weird there. And I've channeled Sharon in the past. She is present right here. And she's showing me that today's show is going to be a lot about restoration. And she's showing herself to me as the muse, the creative, the purity of a white rose. I think she wanted to leave Roman. She saw things she didn't like. Now she was going to be a mother. A mother should not be in here anymore. So, like that energy. But she doesn't want to talk about the gross negative stuff. She wants us, when we leave today, with this subject. She's just very present that she is restored as that energy of the white rose, that purity, that frequency, that beauty, that art, the muse that inspires everything. So sorry, actually, Gary, because right now I'm actually in communication with her. So wherever like we go today, please like forget the trauma of how I became famous for my demise. I am good and I am part of the restoration of Gaia and sublime divine mother creation, because without a woman, let's not forget that to a child, mother means God. It's all about that divine feminine energy. She is the portal. Men would not exist without her. So it's a restoration right now. She is blooming that white rose, and tap into like art, because that's what happened. That all around that Helter Skelter, it was like a plot. It was like a bear trap. It was like something, a trap to invert everything that was sacred, beautiful, creative, whether it be in song, whether it be in colors, whether it be in play. That's what the inversion happened, to turn it upside down in trauma. So now she is rising like the golden white phoenix, not golden because she's a white rose, white phoenix, to reestablish the energies for a new world, right? So I love her. I really love Sharon. And I don't even know what your question was. I
No,
just
no,
chat.
that's beautiful because Sharon's coming in. So what I think I'll do um, is I'll talk a little bit about my research, and please jump in and
Okay.
at any point
Yes,
you want, Richard. Please do. Um,
of course.
Now there was a murder that happened, and Charles Manson and a few others were involved in this. One of the others we're going to talk about as well, because I think I got a very strong feeling that there was a link, and the research that I was guided to went down an alleyway which was strange, and I
Mhm.
think that it warrants more, investigation. Now, Richard told me, and I didn't know this until this week, that Helter Skelter was placed upon the wall where Sharon passed. Okay,
Yes.
I'm not going to go into it any further. You want to look at it, you look
Mhm.
at it. Okay, as I said, some things we're skipping over. Now, Charles Manson um, was at the time, I believe, very, very much under MK Ultra mind control
Mhm.
via a three-letter agency that begins with C,
And
via,
ends with A.
yeah, I in the middle, yeah, I, and this is part of something called an involvement in something called the Tavistock Institution. And the Tavistock Institution is fundamentally there to change the perception and the cultural direction of society. And they've done a very good job of it.
Mm.
Now, the Beatles uh, in 1968 produced an album called the White Album. And in this album is a song called Helter Skelter, which obviously links to what was written on the wall and the beginning of the conversation, how it all started with me and Richard and the strange face. Obviously so now, because I can really see why. We got looked at as if we were quite freakish. Um,
Yeah.
um, now, Richard has the lyrics for the Helter Skelter song, which has got very, very a lot of symbolic meaning in it, as we now understand from the time. But at the time, it would have been quite a radical song and quite an out there song. And although it's got meaning that we now kind of understand, was not actually the song that they used to trigger Manson to do what he did. It was actually the another song on the album called Revolution One,
Mhm.
and that song had something in it that triggered Manson to start spiraling out of control.
Mhm.
And there was a black white race type thing going on, and again,
A race war.
yeah, a race war. And again, I don't think we need to particularly go into that, because what we're talking about is deliberate, controlled division that has
Yes.
been set up by the Tavistock Institution and the C and I, um, to create a situation of division, and us and them, and to feed ultimately their own masters with loosh, but enable them to manipulate society in a non-healthy way.
Yes.
I don't think we need to go into that particularly anymore, but I think we've nailed it in a very concise way of the manipulation. If we look at the Beatles and their role in what was going on at that time, very, very questionable. And there's some people who have done some. There's one particular guy, I can't remember his name, but he was on Sheep Farm probably about a year ago now, 8 months ago. Um, and Sheep Farm, a couple of British guys who are researchers, and boy, do
Mhm.
they research! Oh my God. You think you go down a rabbit hole, you wait to, if you listen to them, it'll take you to a different direction. They are on YouTube, but they also have their own website, and they really do go into things that, so a lot of what they produce does not go onto YouTube because it can't. Okay? Now, they had an interview with a gentleman who has looked at the Beatles, and I know there's two opposing sides, of course there is, but the information that this gentleman produced on the Beatles, the evidence produced about the Beatles, very much links into the Tavistock Institute and what they were there to do or what they didn't do and who they really weren't in some cases. Okay. I think the interview might be under the name "This isn't Billy Shears" or something like that, or "This is Billy Shears" because um, potentially when Paul passed away in a car accident, he was replaced by another musician called Billy Shears, and it all gets a little bit entangled from that point. Do your own research is all I can suggest on that one. Try not to get triggered because obviously we all love some of the Beatles songs and some of the Beatles songs we really don't like. But there we go. But the Beatles produced an album with a song designed to pre-designed to trigger somebody who had been MK Ultra'd on the other side of the world, on the other side of the pond in America, to because it was in California, wasn't it? Where this happened, right? So
Yeah.
California is as far away from England in America as you can get. I think it's a 9 hour, 8 or 9 hour difference in time. So we really are talking a long way away. This song triggered something that ultimately left in the demise of not only Sharon but other people.
Why was the Tate La Bianca's? So it was, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now, the interesting bit that I'm now going to go into is I'm
Yes.
not going to talk about Manson too much because that's very well documented.
And it's not the spotlight. He's not the spotlight. He's a creep.
But we're going
But
to
we
talk,
have to talk a bit about him because it makes sense into like our story, right? Like he does have room here, but it's not to highlight him.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, for me, um, the one who was the most key in all of this was his co-helper, co-conspirator, a guy called Tex Watson, who I'd never heard of before, which is always indicative of there's something more to look at on that one.
Mm.
Now, Tex Watson, I don't know the relationship between him and Manson. I didn't bother to look at that.
But I think
But
it was his right man, and I think the woman loved him.
yeah, yeah,
In the family,
yeah,
the ranch family, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So again, I don't know too much about this, and Richard's interjection is now helping me see what
Mm.
the relationships. But Tex Watson is a very, very interesting character, and I think he's one of the only ones that's still alive in prison currently, from all the group that went to prison, from my understanding. And as a side note, I did notice that he had been denied parole 17 times. Now, you know,
17. What a
se-
funny number.
yeah, what a
Yeah.
funny number.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Now, Tex Watson, I looked into his education because for me, generally, when where somebody has been educated is very important. Um, Not necessarily where they went to junior school or high school, but it's the colleges or the universities that therefore go on after. Now, I can't remember which university you went to or school because that isn't actually the point in this one. Because what came from that is what he was linked to while he was at school or university college. And that was a fraternity, an organization, which is one of the oldest if not the oldest fraternity in America. So when we're talking about fraternities here, to my name, yes, you've got these lovely fraternities that have all, but the fraternity type of fraternity I'm looking at
Mhm.
is the kind that would work extremely well with the Skull and Bones fraternity. And we know who was in the Skull and Bones, the Bush family, etc. So this fraternity, when you start looking into them, you realize, now this fraternity was called the Pi Kappa Alpha fraternity, and they were known as the Pike fraternity. Um, Now we know there's a guy called Albert Pike, and I think they were probably called the Pike, even though the letters don't work, because it would have been in homage to that kind of energy. Not going, there's no direct connection as such, but this is the energy we're talking about. Okay, everyone.
Yes. Mhm.
Um, like so when I do research, I feel energies just like Richard does, but in a different way, and I get drawn and things come up and I'm just guided. And so this Pi Kappa Alpha fraternity, known as Pike, was the control system and was Tex Wood Watson's um, way into his control mechanism. And I believe firmly, and I don't know if you want to get the pendulum out to ask this question, it's a belief at the moment that Tex Watson was actually Manson's handler. So Tex Watson was actually higher in the food chain than Manson.
Yes. Um, yes.
Yeah,
There's more to the story, but it's a yes.
yeah. So as we go to the story, it gets more and more. So I'm pleased that we are, because obviously there's no point in me carrying on telling you this stuff if I'm
No,
wrong at this
I gotta
stage.
burn some dragon's breath
Yes.
now.
Yeah, because we are dealing with, and I should just rub one of my crystals just to make sure that I'm protected. Now, when I looked into the Pi Kappa Alpha fraternity,
Mhm.
they have some very interesting people in some very interesting positions to this day. Now, I'm not saying back at the time that these organizations were running, because many of them weren't. And I'm not saying that they weren't where they were, but they were certainly linked to the three-letter agency, and they were certainly linked to um, the Tavistock system
Mhm.
via the three-letter agency. Okay, so we're talking like a spider's web of connections across. Now, the Pi Kappa Alpha fraternity was the control system that linked him to Manson and what happened. People or organizations, I should say, I'm not going to go into the people, you do your own research on this. The organizations that the Pi Kappa or Pike is involved in currently and has high ranking members within these organizations. One of them is Microsoft. And we know who runs Microsoft, don't we?
And it should come as no shocker.
The other one is DuPont. For those that ever want to do some research in DuPont, it's one of the old original families, a very
Yep.
old family, potentially linked directly to the black nobility, which is the
Yes.
13 ruling families.
Mm.
Okay. There's also a company called Munster.com, and it's not Munster Energy Drinks as such, it's Munster.com, and they have their fingers in many, many pies and many, many companies. Very nefarious. Um, Now, when I looked at the Pike fraternity, it is linked to multiple deaths, multiple sexual assaults, and other
I'll be right
misconduct.
back as you explain.
And other misconduct. So it's very clear to me in what I was feeling from this that this was the link. Now, did Manson, did he get that album, or was it Tex that got the album for him, knowing that Manson had been MK Ultra, had been programmed to act and react in a certain way when the album was played with this song? And that's literally how it worked. It's how it would have worked. The album would have been played, that song would have been played, and via the mind control of the MK Ultra that Manson would have received at some point during his life via trauma, it would have almost switched him into somebody else. And Tex would have known this. And so the events that there followed would have been the direct consequence of Tex Watson and his connection to such people and organizations, which is all part of the system of changing society and creating chaos. Now, the chaos thing is quite an important one because one of their lines, one of the things they talk about is order out of chaos. And with the furore and what happened with what it went on um, from this in 1969, there was certainly chaos, and a new order came out from that. And that new order was not necessarily, and probably almost certainly not, beneficial to us.
Hmm.
Um, I don't think I really want to go too much further in that, bar the
No,
fact,
I think we're done.
yeah, yeah,
I
but
had to
bar the
walk away a little
yeah,
bit because
but bar the fact
your information is great, Gar. Like it's great.
bar the fact that as Richard mentioned, Sharon Tate was the wife of Roman Polanski, who actually took the photographs that made her famous in Playboy. Um, and he married her in 1968, and obviously that ended in 1969. And I didn't know the connection to Rosemary Baby, and that's another hmm.
Yes, it
And
is. Yes,
yeah, and I don't think I really want to go any further with that. I think
I'm
we've
done.
gone as far as we need to. But what I would ask you to do, and what I'm being guided to ask you to do, Richard,
Yes.
is could you get your crystal ball out? Sharon's obviously with you. Would you like to channel Sharon and have a conversation with Sharon and express anything that Sharon would like to get across to us? What's your preferred mechanism for Sharon? Would it be the pendulum, the ball, or
Well, yes. So before, because Sharon is here, there's just so many different energies that walked in because as we talked about him, I could feel his energy that is spying here and there. And Sharon is like clearing like a white dove. Okay. Manson, I'm talking about. Okay. So, like, there's a lot of energy in the room right now. This is why I keep like burning some of this right now. Sharon, yes, of course, she's beautiful, but right now she wants me to like go back to the beginning, okay? Because there's something very important right now, Gary, that you mentioned. So at first, Charles Manson, and that's the last time I think I'm gonna speak that creep's name. I don't
we
like him.
we can
No,
refer
no,
to
no, wait, I'm
CM,
not.
can't we? CM.
So
CM
what?
doesn't make it.
So as I'm sorry, like I'm going. Don't interrupt, please, because I'm gonna lose myself. Because there's too much energy coming in rapid fire. Gar, I love you. You brought up, and Sharon is making me please be kind and rewind right now. You were talking about what triggered CM was not the song Helter Skelter, but you said, what was it, Rebel One? No.
Revolution 1, yeah.
Okay, so Revolution 1 could have been the trigger, but the song Helter Skelter, she's making me feel, was made to invert. Okay, something that's supposed to be spiraling because your playground format of like a helter skelter is a child that's going up the ladder to the top and down, then spiraling all the way down. We can look at it also reincarnation, it's creativity, it's inner child. But that specific song, hence with the blood on the wall, was to invert it. So she wants me to go before because I took notes, Femi, on specific lyrics of the song this morning as I was doing my meditation, because I listened to the song Helter Skelter by both the Beatles and Motley Crue. And I listened to Motley Crue once because it's just heavier, but then I went back to the Beatles. And it's a very interesting what I got because, well, should I just read it to you? And then
Yeah.
Sharon wants to maybe
Yeah.
come out after.
Yeah. I
Okay.
think if you read it, it'll help the Femi understand
It's
the
gonna
lyrics.
help.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what we go on to talk to later as well about.
All right. So this is the song Helter Skelter. When I get to the bottom, I go back to the top of the slide. So what does that mean? When I get to the bottom, I go back to the top of the slide. So literal frequency, it would mean about a carnival motion. You slide down and then you climb all over again. Symbolic. It talks about cycles of incarnation, the soul's descent into matter and rise into awareness. Now, the inverted segment, the loop of karmic entrapment, caged in, chaos without evolution. Manson misread this as the world collapsing in endless descent. And then we go to the next phrase or lyric song, where I stop and I turn and I go for a ride. Literally, the moment you pause before surrendering to gravity again. Symbolic, choice. The pause before a new experience. Surrendering to flow. Inverted, losing agency, being pulled by destructive current rather than own will. Then we go to the next phrase. Till I get to the bottom and I see you again. Till I get to the bottom and I see you again. Literally, meeting friends waiting for us below. Symbolic, reunion in a material world. The soul re-encountering reflections of thyself. Now you invert this. Returning to shadow companions. Trauma loops repeating. And then we go to the next lyrical line. Do you, don't you want me to love you? Do you, don't you want me to love you? What does that mean literally? The playful chaos of attraction. Symbolically, it would mean the human yearning for union, divine play of pursuit. Now, if you invert this, manipulative desire, coercive love, echo of control and cult power. Next line. I'm coming down fast, but I'm miles above you. Literally. Falling swiftly from the slide's peak. The symbol. The paradox of descent within awareness. Embodying spirit while falling into matter. Now, if you invert this, the ego's illusion of superiority while spiraling out of control, hubris. Next line. Tell me the answer. Literal. Urgent questioning. The voice of rock energy. Symbol. Humanity demanding revelation. The mystic cry for gnosis. Inverted. In the upside down. Obsessive search for meaning through chaos. Fanaticism. You may be a lover, but you ain't no dancer. Literal, teasing, a wild banter. In the symbol, it is a challenge. Can you move with life's rhythm? Invert this shit. Those who claim love but resist flow. Stagnation of one's spirit. Helter Skelter! Literal, the ride itself, motion and noise. Symbolic, the spiral principle, creation through rotation. You invert this, the hijacked spiral, confusion, collapse, inverted kundalini. Look out, because it's coming down fast. Literal warning of someone sliding. Symbol, the feminine principle, she, descending. Spirit incarnating. Invert that. The fall of the feminine into victimhood. Sharon Tate. What happened symbolically to Sharon? Yes, she is. She's coming down fast. Symbolic. Repetition of incantation. The rhythm of descent before rebirth. Now you invert that mantra, it means destruction. Manson's group echoed, thinking apocalypse was encoded within that song. Won't you want me to make you? Literally, wild lyric improvisation. In the symbol, it is co-creation. Divine union through will. Now you invert that. Control dynamics, false authority, masquerading as salvation. And the final fade out, which like chaotic guitars and screaming. You know the screaming. I love that. Like all that. Like I love that sound. But it's still chaotic, right? The symbolism of it is the ecstatic dissolution of ego, pure release. Release. But inverted, when misunderstood, chaos becomes literal violence instead of transcendence. That's what I got.
Superb, superb. I, I'd just like
I
to
know
add
it
one.
was long,
Yeah,
but
no, no, no,
yeah.
no, it's brilliant. And I think that that explains and expresses the song. But something else that is connected to that song is it is said that Ringo, who played the drums on the beat for the Beatles, was
Mhm.
playing so hard that his fingers bled. And so there was a blood sacrifice made by Ringo on the making of that song.
So, okay, Ringo was sacrificed. Is that what you're, no, no.
He
What are you
bled.
saying?
He cut the hand when they made the
Himself.
song. He bled.
Oh.
His fingers bled, apparently, physically bled. Now, I've never seen a drummer play a drum and their fingers start to bleed.
Well, nor have I, but nor have I really heard this story until today, right? So, okay, so what are you saying? Did he slash himself? Like, is that what I don't?
I don't know. Apparently, it's written and it's stated that his fingers, he was playing the drum so hard that he got blisters on his fingers. But actually, it wasn't blisters. His fingers bled.
Oh my God! And they have a song. I got blisters on my fingers. What are the Beatles song? Somewhat. So it has to be here because I remember it now. It was on that album with Helter Skelter, Taxman. Um, I got blisters on my fingers. That's what he's. Someone screams at the end. Are you talking about that? Do you know what I'm
Well,
talking about?
I don't, but I'm getting goose for
Okay.
the flesh, so that you're on to something there, and that's why they scream that. But the blood was physically let by Ringo in the making of that song.
Okay.
And we know that blood has power.
Well, yes, of course, it's life.
Just saying.
And you know the Beatles, like a long time ago, they had like one album cover of the whole band with plastic dolls full of blood beheaded, and it was banned. I did a video on that a year ago. I mean, like we're talking about the 60s. This was obscene. So I don't know. I mean, they got some good music, but guys, like, you know, they weren't independent, were they? You know, independent bands are always the best bands. Oh, yes, yes, yes. I think, okay, wrap it up.
Yeah, yeah. Please, please find Sheep
Hmm.
Farm Studio, or sheepfarm.org or Sheep Farm on YouTube. And please, if you want to really understand what that band was about and how they could not have produced some of the albums they did in the time
Hmm.
scale they did, because it's
Yes.
physically impossible, then please look at some of the stuff that was going on and who was potentially playing the music for them.
Yes, I agree. Now Sharon wants to come in. She says, "All right, stop the babbler. I'm coming in." She didn't use the word babbler, but that's a sensation. She likes you. But she wants to come in now, so here we go. All right, guys. Give me a moment. I'm gonna do my breath work and I'll be right back, okay? Mhm. Welcome back. Guys, I want to bring to all of your attention, breath work is a source of life. I'm only realize I knew it, but since I've been inspired by our beloved sister, Tarot by Isabella, and me being her Padawan, and then by being focused, I got the download. It's all about breath work. And when you do breath work, focus on what you want. That's what the true way of manifesting is. It's all in breath work. Like I feel like reigniting. What was that? Like 20 seconds maybe?
Yeah.
Breath works is the way. Everyone. And I have to remind myself, and the only time that I really do it is before something like this, but I feel amazing. All right, eyeballs on. Let's see what Miss Tate has got to say. I really like her energy. She feels very angelic. She does not have any trauma energy around her. She doesn't want to talk about that at all. Let's see. Here we go. So I do have a white dove coming from above and gliding down. And in back of the dove, it is, oh my God, she was dragon energy. Because that's a head of a dragon. Sharon, okay. She was chosen because of the energy that she was. So dragons are very connected to the elementals. She was an actress. She was someone like my best friend Jenny May. When you're around her, you get inspired and you create and you write and compose and you paint. That is life energy. That is divine sacred mother energy because yeah. Yeah. Okay, so she's showing to me right now. She is healed from that trauma. So she is rising her arms, looking upward, not for her. Her soul is okay. She has forgiven the part. This is it. Her arms flex out is because I'm t now it's her higher self. So I'm not talking about Sharon Tate when Sharon Tate was the actress, the blonde bombshell, before what happened to her. Now I'm talking to her higher self, and she's showing me that she was placed into a time where there was that divide, the pitting one against the other, and her beauty was used in order to understand the corruption that was trying to take control. I'm not going to say that, well, it's not a sacrifice. Is it a volunteer? It's like, it's a bigger aspect. I chose to go through what I was so that it would have a purpose in showing the inversion. Now my wings are flapping. I am in flight. I am the white rose. Stop. I'm seeing her sister here. I think her sister's still alive. I don't think it's an aunt because an aunt would be past. I think it's a sister. Ah, you guys, mm, there's something about her sister. I think her sister might still be alive, but she's carrying codes. There's something about a sister energy here that's very important. Okay, so Sharon, oh, I got low battery. I got 10. Can you, hello?
You can see
Oh,
you. You're fine.
okay, so I gotta close down. I got 10% battery left. Okay, so Sharon, what is showing me is that the inversion. Okay, so how do I make this fast? It's almost like she was a catalyst for something during a time of like being taken control and inverted. The spiral energy, okay, was inverted, and she was a catalyst. And the catalyst, which her being the white rose, that bright angel, is now here to restore it back to how before the infiltration. Does that make sense, Gary? Because
Yes, it
I feel
does.
I got to talk really fast. Um, well, 10%, how many minutes would that give me? Maybe, okay, I'll calm down on that. Like 10. I'm sure I still got at least 15 minutes. Okay. Focus, focus. Stop. All of that energy from that era, because she's showing me that era, but it's going way, 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 way beyond, is all being cleared. It's as if we got a big heating lamp or like a zzz. So there's a cleansing here. Because she's happy and she's still alive and she's making me feel like almost like, oh, it was so hard on all of you, humanity. Uh, but you're gonna see clearly right now. Me, I'm not damned, and all of you do not die. Death is but an illusion, and she's laughing out loud right now. You will see, and you're gonna get that confirmation as you live and you see everything dissolve around you within the simulation. So it is that spiral, the Fibonacci code, because that was inverted, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, what's the name of the real one?
The Chris code.
That she's showing this to me now. You're all starting to pick up, and there's nothing wrong with you. No one was like stuck in traffic or late or dumb. Okay. You're all awakening on due time because you all have specific gifts. I have a gift. I had a purpose. My demise is not the reason why I am famous. Okay, so she's famous because of her demise, but it's now coming through clearing. She doesn't want to be remembered with some, oh my God, it's so tragic. Oh my, no, 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 no. Use that to see that I'm restoring the inversion back to the upside straight. Does that make sense?
Does. It does.
Okay, the end.
Now, Richard just spoke about the toroidal fields and inversions. And for us to talk about this, you would not understand. So what we're going to do, we're going to have a second little slideshow before, hopefully before
Yes.
Richard's battery dies. So we can just show you what we mean. Now, we have the Fibonacci sequence, which we've always been told is creational energy and is great and wonderful. And we have Merkaba, or meditations and all the bits and pieces that go with it. Well, that is the inversion, and that really is not the one. The
Hmm.
actual one, which is creational, which is Mother Gaia, which is nature, which is the creation of all energies, the crystal code or the Christ code.
Mhm.
Now, both of them look very, very similar to each other. And they both look like a nautilus shell or a snail shell. And trees, the way plants grow and the shapes we get. We have always been told by who? The control mechanism, that
Yes.
this is the Fibonacci and this is good. It's absolutely not. It's a complete inversion. And the reason why we're showing this is that when you lay the two systems over the top of each other, they both look like a snail shell. They've both got the same spiral effect. Now, I'm not going to go into this too deeply. I do have videos on this. I've got one specifically on the Fibonacci and one specifically on the Chris code, because we're going to have to go over this fairly quickly. But this is just to show you the inversion. But what we have at axis
And
7,
it's a very like trick. Sorry to interrupt, Gar, but I want the Femi to notice. Look at how similar they are, how tricky it is. It looks like the same. We're going by just a few inches, but yet everything changes, right, Gar?
yeah, totally. And that's the inversion. Somebody put in my comments the other week, um, if you give them 90% truth but 10% lies and
Yes.
disinformation, you're still lying to them and you're still creating the inversion you wanted, even though 90% of it is correct.
Yeah, well,
And
it's
what
trickery.
it's trickery. And what we see here is 90% it looks the same. But actually at axis 7, the Fibonacci sequence, if it hasn't got something to feed on, will collapse, as the Chris code will continue to grow because it has positive and negative energy within itself, as in like an atom has positive
Yes.
and negative. It's exactly the same. And I'm going to demonstrate how much this is now.
Do this, Gary, and what I'm gonna do is I'll go get my wiring
Yeah,
to plug my because I'm not at my regular office at this table because I don't want to shut down on you.
yeah, that'd be great. Yeah,
Okay,
get
okay.
get your charger. So what we're looking at and what we've been talking about, just to move this up out of the way, hopefully you can see this a bit better, because I know what I see is not necessarily what you see. And last time we actually, let's move this right down the bottom out of the way. Hopefully that's, oh, look at that. Who knew? Um, this is a toroidal field. This is the toroidal field, the figure 8. So this is a toroidal field, and we have the figure 8. And this is the helter skelter. This is the helter skelter that we're talking about, which is the infinity 8 symbol. So when we look at a toroidal field from above, we get this helter skelter effect. So what we have here in the center here is the human heart and the natural toroidal field of the body and of the heart. This is a magnet, positive, negative polarity, and it shows the toroidal field. Same with this tree here. We can see the ground, and as above, so below, and in the center of the trunk is the toroidal field. So when we ground ourselves on the tree and we hug that tree, we're inside the toroidal field of the tree, and our toroidal field will intercept and intermingle with that. And that's how it works. When we look at a storm, a tornado, when we look from it above, we get this swirl, which is the swirl of the infinity, which is a toroidal field. An apple could be seen as this is the head of us, is the stalk, and the toroidal field goes down and around. The toroidal field goes down and around and comes up, and the pips are the heart, and the pips are our heart. And we see this throughout nature. I've demonstrated it before, but this is really, really interesting. So the infinity 8 symbol, the helter skelter that we've been talking about, is the inversion of this toroidal field that they have turned upside down on us. Now, let me just move this
I love that.
up here. Hope, can we see that? So, oh, it's done that now. There we go. So what this is the Anu, or the AIFA unit, and it's a spiraling heart-shaped toroidal field. And there are
Hmm.
two types, and they're exactly the same. Okay, because remember, we've talked about duality in this world before. I talk about Janus, the twin pillars.
Yes.
It's all there. And what we have is two toroidal fields working in opposition to create balance, the yin and the yang almost. And what we see here is the positive that will flow upwards. And we have the negative that will flow downwards. And what's happened is that the Fibonacci sequence has inverted us into the negative polarity in this realm, overtaking the positive.
Mhm.
And we're now in the process of switching this up and turning it around, going back up to the positive. So at the moment, what's actually happened when we take the Helter Skelter is that we have gone all the way down and we're now climbing the steps back up. And this is what we have been demonstrating and talking about throughout this entire program, fundamentally. And I'm showing you it in scientific ways.
I
Now,
love that. Oh, that's a great image.
now we're going to get sciencey now. There is something called the double slit experiment. It was first done in 1801 by a guy called Thomas Young. And Einstein and all the top scientists in the world have redone this and um, enacted this experiment time and time and time again. And what we're fundamentally looking at is toroidal fields inside fluid dynamics. And I know
Mhm.
everyone glazed over then, but fluid dynamics just means it's the flow of energy to and from. Our toroidal field is a flow. It's a flow. It's
Yeah.
all we're talking about. Now, the experiment had a metal plate with two slots, and when
Mhm.
they fired protons, photons, light beams, whatever it was, when they observed it, it would hit this top wall here, but there'd be two lines only. And when they didn't observe it and they set the machine to run and they walked away, when they came back, what they actually had was this patternation across the wall, all these lines. And these
Mm.
lines demonstrate a interference pattern
Oh,
from material like photons, protons, whatever you want to call it. That's our,
so like 666.
yes, our
Right.
building blocks of material, what we're
Mm.
built from. So every single thing, carbon, whatever it is, will act and have the same wave pattern. But when we observe this pattern, the pattern changes into solid physical material to what we would expect to see. So when we talk about we live in a matrix or a holographic realm, and we're in the matrix, Richard and I have talked about this before. This is what we're actually talking about when we're not observing. I call it atomic matter, but it's not like nuclear matter. I'm talking atoms, photons, and protons. Okay,
Mhm.
when this matter is sat there and not being observed, it is in a free flow state.
Yes.
And this is what's been demonstrated by the double slit experiment. Again, I have
Mm.
videos on this to explain this a little bit clearer. This is a brief overview, okay? And I'm not a scientist, by the way. This is just what I've worked out from observation and understanding. Now, below, I've cut the Fibonacci sequence in half, and I've cut a toroidal field or the Criss code in half. Now, the Fibonacci, when you draw it on paper, creates this shape, and the Criss code, when you draw it on paper, makes this shape. It's known as the lotus of life or the lotus flower, and you can see why, because we have this lotus flower petal effect at the bottom. This is the Criss code, and this is known as the daisy of death.
AKA the flower of life, inversion.
Correct. What we get from the Fibonacci sequence is fundamentally the black cube of
Mm.
Saturn. We get sacred geometry. And again, if you want to look at this and understand it further, I've done lots of videos on these things. Please check them out. But we also get from this pattern the Star of Rembrandt. And the Star of Rembrandt is now known as the Star of David.
Mm.
And I show an image of 3000 BC of a stone tablet that was used for not very nice things. And we have the Star of Rembrandt, and in the center, we have the Daisy of Death. So this inversion has been going for a very, very long time. Now, the point of this slide is this energy here that we see, this pattern, waveform pattern, is actually creational energy, crystalline code, Mother Gaia. If we put the Daisy of Death, the Fibonacci sequence, over this pattern, it doesn't fit
But the other one fits.
perfectly almost. Because when we take the double slit, if you imagine the slit bit here, you have this triangle, and then we have another square type, and here, and it's just if you extended the pattern out, it would fit perfectly. So you can fit this into this creational energy.
And you could look at this picture, it's almost like a corset. And usually we'd see a corset strangling. I'm not saying it in that way, but look at the pattern. Like all the abs at the center or the ribs, they are awakening and they are going upright. And they all have that beautiful ignition on each of like the little light beings integrating. Whereas you look at what we know below the flower of life, which is the daisy of death, that's suppression, that's a lockup, that's imprisonment. There's a big difference. Round and round you go in circle, being imprisoned, locked up, forgetting who and what you are and repeating the cycle all again. That's why I got a daisy here, a daisy there, a daisy there. There's circles all around it. That's witchcraft. This is like going up, like that spiral going up and expanding with the arrows going upwards, ding, 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 ding. And
Yeah,
then you got your real Christ code with the circular that's at the bottom of the corset right there.
yeah, yeah. And when we go to this slide and we look
Mhm.
at our toroidal field that we create,
Yes.
if you cut that toroidal field in half and laid that over the double slit experiment, which is exactly what I did,
Mhm.
it's the same. But the fib of no chi spiral does not. If you can imagine our heads there, this inner ring here is our inner ring of our body, of our energy field, and then the outer one is the field that comes out from us.
Mm.
And when you're in fear, it's smaller, and when you're in love, it's
It's
huge.
bigger, yes.
And you can clearly see that the two are not compatible in any way.
They're not, and the more that you look at what we saw as the flower of life, it looks like prison. It looks like attachments. It looks like barbed wire.
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't flow.
It
And
doesn't flow at all. No, no,
no,
no, no, no.
and a very interesting thing, okay, well, for those who know and have heard about something called human design, and it's something I've been looking at for the last 18 months or so. It's something Maten does his shows on a lot. It's very complex, but it's also not. When we look at human design, which explains how we are designed and the building blocks and how we will react and act to certain stimuli and the planetary influences upon our body, the human design is based on the Christ code sequence. So we have 64 gates within our body that connects us to our spirit and higher self. So the higher
Mm,
self can get that emotional experience, you know, of the reality of this realm. It makes us feel that we're alive, and so we get all these emotions come through. Well, as we can quite clearly see, 64 is a crystalline sequence, but it's not on the Fibonacci, I can assure you.
mm,
um in um human design, there's 16 godheads, so 16 um energies that come through and will affect our bodies as well, which work in tandem with the planets. And here we have 16. Very interesting. Now, for the crystalline spiral to grow, if we look at this one, we have twin lines, and the twin lines are representatives of the positive charge and the negative charge in parallel to enable us to grow and develop. And what we see with the crystalline sequence is it'll double upon itself. So 1 to 1 to 2 to 4 to 8 to 16 to 32, 64, 1 to 8, etc., etc. And it grows organically. The Fibonacci cannot grow without feeding on something.
mm, mm, mm,
So
mm,
we
mm.
get to 1 to 1 to 2, but to get to 3, it has to feed on itself to get to 3.
Cannibalize itself.
Correct.
Mm,
To get to 5, it has to feed on 3 and 2. To get to 8, it has to feed 5 and 3. And it
yes.
gets to the 7th stage, which creates the first flower. And if it hasn't got an external source to feed upon, like a parasite would, it collapses,
Well,
collapses
good,
upon itself.
good. Parasite collapse. Good riddance.
But that's the 7th cycle. And if we go back to what we were showing you here, the 7th cycle, this split here, axis 7, is where we are currently with our energies. And what we're looking at is the Fibonacci spiral sequence is our 3D realm,
Mm,
and the crystal code or the crystalline spiral is our 5D realm. And the split of the energies we're seeing at the moment via the helter skelters are climbing up this through this swamp, the inversion changing over, oops, is we are now here. And as we move along in time, the split gets larger and larger and larger until at the point in which the 5D and the 3D are so wide apart that we can no longer see and resonate with the 3D, and they can no longer see and resonate with us.
love it. Can you back up a picture?
Yep.
I want to talk about no forward. Okay,
What, the Helter
just
Skelters?
I'll tell you when to stop.
We've got
I
this one,
want no,
this one,
no, no,
that one.
no, no, no. That. Let's zero in because there are drawings here, huh?
Yes, there are.
There's a unicorn,
And a lion.
and what's in the middle?
The Royal Shield.
What is it doing to the unicorn?
It's chained it up.
Okay, chaining
And
a
what
unicorn.
and what colour are chains, Richard?
Well, silver.
And what colour in monetary terms, does the moon represent?
Silver.
And haven't we said on the previous Rocking Pandora's boxes that the moon came in 4039 BC,
Well, it's been imported. It's not natural. Absolutely.
and the moon is the Fibonacci sequence?
Ah, there you go. Because this, huh? There we go. That unicorn is inner child. It's creativity. It's chained up. Moon, moon, royal. Ah, there's a lot here, guys, huh? But look, the top is like the spike of a unicorn. I'm poking through it, through that balloon.
It is.
And
It
it's
is.
blood red now. Yeah.
Because we're killing the beast,
Yep.
and we have inverted. So I I understand that gravity doesn't actually exist, and we're not going to go down that rabbit hole because it's density, buoyancy, and electromagnetism, because we're in a realm and not a solid thing. But
Of course. Of
if we
course.
take gravity as being a real thing, and we turn this picture upside down at the moment, we are now sliding the right way. We're actually inverted gravity, and we're actually sliding up because the Chris code is now in charge.
It will go from to, yeah.
Because
Okay.
Mother
Yeah.
Gaia
But
is
that's
now in
life.
charge.
Expansion is what you mean.
Yes. So we now
Yes, I
look
get it.
like if you imagine um a twister, you know,
A
a
tornado, yes.
tornado. The tornado is inverted. If you turn it the other way and the tornado expands out, we're in the expansion part of the crystalline code of the tornado of the toroidal field of the infinity eight. Oh dear.
It's crazy, huh? Like it just keeps opening and looping and loving. Yeah,
And the
I love it.
higher we get and the wider this expansion gets, the more awareness we get, and the more the angelics and the elementals come in to join us, and the more support we get, and the more we push through and leave the Fibonacci sequence behind.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
Now, for those who think this is another one, I did do a show on this very recently about
Hmm.
10 fingers and 12 fingers. Okay. Now, the Christ code is a balanced mechanism that has 12 parts to it. And those 12 parts are called a Cathara grid. I don't know why it's called a Cathara grid. I'm just using the language I've learned.
Hmm.
So the Christ code is a 12 Cathara grid with equal positive and negative charge to grow and double. The Fibonacci system is a 10 Cathara grid. So it only has 10 um, segments in it that join up, which means it can't grow because it's not in balance. It's very interesting that the Seal of Solomon and the use of that imagery and the Kabbalah is a 10 Cathara grid system, not 12. Now, if we want to go to biblical times and we use the Bible, Goliath and all the giants who had been on this realm longer than the small people, if we take it from that, okay, they all had 12 fingers and 12 toes because they were the old creation and were still the creation of Gaia before Gaia was taken over by the 10 Cathara grid, which gave us 10 fingers and thumb,
Hmm.
10 fingers, 10 toes. And so we tend to have 10 fingers and 10 toes because the energy we've been born under is a 10 Cathara grid.
And it's quite amazing because I did have a relationship with a lover once who had six toes, six fingers on one hand of each, but they were small. They weren't like a huge one. It was like more like a growing tree or root. But on the toe, the sixth toe was glued onto the fifth one. So I do know that what you're saying, Gaga, is an actual thing, but it's still surprising, right? Because we think, like 555, somehow it's related to humanity in the sense that we have five digits, two arms, two legs, one hand, five, five fingers, five toes. But then if you look at 666, the number of the beast, which is a total inversion because we're talking about six atoms, six protons, and I forget what the other six is.
Yeah, neutrons, something like that, isn't it? Yeah.
Neutrons, yes. So what happened? There is a corruption that has happened. So I think you're onto something because I do know that it is real. Six fingers, six toes, because I was a relationship with someone who had that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's real.
Yeah. I actually
Yeah.
looked at some of the ancient Sumerian
Mhm.
carvings. And there's one of Gilgamesh, and the famous one of Gilgamesh is the one where he's got a lion underneath his arm. I don't know if
Yes,
yeah,
yes, I know
yeah,
this
you know
one.
what I
Yes.
mean. So there's
Mhm.
this bearded guy who's one of the Nephilim, or he's one of the fallen angels, or he's
Mhm.
Anunnaki, whatever name you want to call. I can't tell the difference between any of them. I think they're all the same people. But there he is with this lion underneath his, and when you look at the carving very carefully, you can see where they've carved his pinky away, and his
Oh, I
hand,
will go look.
and
Yes.
he's got five fingers, and then there's a and then
Chopped off.
and you can see it. And I
Okay.
demonstrated this in my video as well and show he had six toes and six fingers.
Okay.
And the Nephilim are written about having six toes and six fingers. And it's very interesting that up until recently in the United Kingdom, our money was counted in twelves. And they counted in twelves. Why would an ancient race count in twelves?
Hmm.
If you've only got 10 fingers, it don't make sense. We count in tens now because we can use our digits.
Everything was inverted. It's like like even the months of the year, it's not 12. What is it? It's 13, right? I mean, but this said, I gotta wrap this up, my brother,
Yeah,
because
no,
I
that's
gotta go
great.
take care of my mom
Yeah, yeah.
and make supper and bake and cook.
That sounds lovely. What are we having for
Sure.
tea tonight then, Richard?
Well, I have to look, but I think that it's gonna be okay. Because we don't eat meat, so it's gonna probably be something faster, like a vegan fake hamburgers. So plant-based
Plant-based food. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
burgers.
yeah, yeah,
Because mom misses the chewing on a hamburger.
yeah, yeah.
So
Some of them taste very nice actually, and they're very pleasant.
some can, they're rare. Some get mushy, but you get to learn the trick of the trade and
You certainly do. You
create
certainly.
something chewable for your moms.
So before we go, Richard, do you have an invocation for us?
I do. Would
Ooh,
you like to hear it?
I
My
would love to
beautiful
hear it.
golden brother
I
and
would love
family.
to.
So today is not a super long one, but it is one that is very strong in frequencies and energy codes. Oh, we're 414 right now.
Yes,
Yes,
2114 for me.
with Jenny May. Oh, Jenny May's my best friend. All right, so let's go find my beautiful invocation because uh, I had two. Yes, I chose this one. So, Femi, it is called the spiral reclamation. Reclamated. Are you ready? Let's rock. From the ashes of noise, we rise in sound. The false frequency crumbles. The true song returns. Every brush stroke, every chord, every breath of creation is a rebellion of beauty against distortion. The downward helter skelter has spun itself out. We reclaim the spiral. Turn it upward again. Artists awaken. Lions of Lyra roar through our throats. And the melody of the cosmos finds its home in human hands. No longer prey to inversion. We are the rhythm restored. Color meeting color. Not in war, but in wonder. We paint the sky with remembrance. We sing the world back into grace. We spiral outward. Infinity creating. As art, as sound, as love thyself.
Superb. Well done. Very good. Very, very good.
I love
Br-
it.
Yeah, brilliant show, Richard. Thank you very much. And I hope the Femi enjoyed the show from our very strange conversation. And
I thought it was great. Like it was because this could be a part two, a part three.
it
There
could
was a
easily.
lot in here, but I loved it. Did
No,
you love it?
I think we covered it well enough, and the trickiness with the subject is not going too far down the darkness and showing that the light is winning and we are really in a
Yes,
good
because or else
position.
we're gonna lower our frequency. If we dig you and I too much into darkness,
Yeah,
we're lowering our frequencies and lowering the Femi's frequency.
yeah,
No, we are holding like the torch. Do
yeah,
we know everything? Fuck no. But we're on the right path,
yeah.
and we care, we love. We love humanity, we love Gaia, and we love all of you beautiful golden family.
And with that, what better way to finish? Goodbye, everybody. We love you. Bye, everyone.
I